I've got the looks and the charm of an old movie star. Cary Grant, if you will, so I find it bizarre that this girl should refuse to step into my car. She must be shy, she'll come around, it's just a matter of time. Aurora, Aurora, Aurora.
Hey there, Screen Beans, and welcome to Screen Snark, the podcast that celebrates all of the shows that are in our eyes, on our minds, and in our hearts. I am Rachel, quirky, shank, brawler.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon, submission expert. I don't know. I'm not.
Technical wizard.
Technical wizard. Congrats on your wrestling debut, by the way.
Thank you.
As of when we're recording. That was awesome to see.
I'm still covered in bruises.
So now Rachel can definitely kick your ass. I mean, I knew that before, but now it's confirmed.
No. Dude, no, I can do a couple strikes and then grab the ropes and scream, no. Don't throw me out.
I'm very excited.
I'll just fall down.
You just fall down? It's fine.
Just fall down.
I'm good at
cry.
falling down.
I'm an incredible professional wrestler. I'll fall down and cry. It's fine.
I'm very excited. Our guest today is the prolific and incredible Brenden Groom. Welcome.
Woo-woo.
I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be on a show with you and Rachel that isn't like side quests. Like I'm excited to sit down and chat with you.
Yeah. This has been a long time in the making. I wanted to have you on. Brenden is an incredible writer and podcaster, has a website and a show called Pass the Controller that he does with a ton of other incredible gentlemen as well, and I have guested on some of their roundtables. I'm very excited to have you here. We're going to talk more about those podcasts and writing in a bit and how everyone should play more indies. But before we get to that, we are, of course, as always, going to talk about the most recent things we watched. And also, as always, I will go first. And I try and avoid now that we've branched out into TV and old movies, I try not to talk about the latest and greatest thing here because you don't want to spoil things, but it's the way the cookie crumbled. The most recent thing I saw was this past weekend. I got to see the incredible and wonderful Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, which, I'm not going to spoil. If you're worried about that, we're going to keep it really light, but I will say flat out it's better than the first Black Panther. As much as I love the first Black Panther, and we all miss Chadwick, and I think it's still a great movie, what this does with the hand they were dealt is phenomenal. It's not a spoiler to know that obviously the funeral for T'Challa is in the film, and it is very much a teary-eyed tribute to Chadwick Boseman as well, and incredibly done. But the movie centers around Letitia Wright, Letitia Wright's character Shuri, and how Shuri deals with the passing of her brother, and putting her anti-vax, anti-mask nonsense aside that we had to deal with. For the most part, she was great. I felt myself popping out of it because I kept remembering the kind of trials and tribulations of filming this and her attitude towards the pandemic stuff. But that said, she's a great actor. She's a great center for the film. A ton of the cast returns. And then, of course, there's also the debut of one of my favorite Marvel characters who hasn't been on the screen yet, Namor, or Namor, because they say it both ways in the film, played by Tenoch Huerta, who is also incredible. And I'll say this about the film without getting into the narrative beats. I think it's one of the more complex and interesting Marvel films, and also it's a film without a hero. The whole premise of the film is that the Black Panther is gone, right? In the last film, Killmonger burned all of the fruit that they used to pass on the Black Panther gifts, and T'Challa passes at the start of the film. So it's really interesting to have a film centered around the lack of hero, not because they haven't gotten their powers yet, but because the hero has died. Because I don't really think Marvel has dealt with that like this, at least. So I thought that was really interesting. The highlights are all there. I mean, Winston Duke's returning M'Baku was stole every scene he was in. Absolutely. But I was obsessed with Namor's portrayal because I loved the character as a kid, though I don't remember a lot of his backstory, but I remember everything about the comics. He was obviously an Avenger at some point, but they infused such incredible history and culture into this character that I think it's the best version we've seen of him. Like, it stands out so much more than the comic incarnation. So I really had a good time with it. Did either of you get to see it this weekend?
Yes. I had to for Infinity Podcast.
Oh, that's right. For your Marvel podcast that you do.
Yes. That one. I'm processing my feelings about this movie currently.
That's fair.
That's where I'm leaving it.
Okay.
That's a tease for Infinity Podcast. So
It truly isn't. I really need to process how this art affects me living in the real world
For sure.
with all of the stuff that happens in the real world around it. I'm
Yeah.
processing. Looks beautiful in the daylight, though. We'll
Yeah.
say that. Could not see the night scenes in my screening. It
Oh,
was very
no.
trying.
That sucks.
It was so dark. The lighting of the seats going down the stairs brighter than the dark scenes. So
Like-
really missed a lot.
What about you, Bren? Did you get to see it?
So I have not done much since COVID, and going to the movies, unfortunately, is one of those things that I have not done. But I have a local theater here that I was able to basically get into a showing that maybe had like 10 people there. So I did get to see this movie. This is the first time I've seen a movie since COVID started.
Wow.
God.
It was emotional for that reason. But I enjoyed it. I'm going to disagree with you and think I do like the first Black Panther better. And I
Okay,
think that's simply because this movie does a lot of great things and does a lot of great things right and a lot of great actors and actresses in it. But you can feel the whole of Chadwick. And like, to me, that's what made, well, the two things that primarily made the first Black Panther for me so good were Chadwick and Michael B. Jordan. So like, those two elements compared to this movie are not bad, because I don't want to spoil too much of the film, but I feel like a lot of the people in this movie that have more or have larger roles, I think really, really nail it in most scenarios. So it's tough to put this against that, because it's almost like another Black Panther origin story, because they had to do that. And I will say I'm a little biased that, I enjoyed the fact that they had scenes in my neck of the woods. So
Right.
it's always nice to see.
Yeah.
When when there's an action scene over the Charles River, that feels good.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, yes, I think that I think that the whole that we feel because Chadwick isn't there is apparent, and also I think for the most part intentional, right? Like you're meant to feel that loss. I think what they do with it is really interesting. Also, the new characters they introduce, they do a great job of introducing. Like Dominique Thorne's Riri Williams is incredible. I'm very excited for her series that they've already announced. But like typically, when they're incorporating a lot of characters into a film, like think about Civil War, like that was designed to have a lot of heroes in it. And for the most part, it was actually done really well. Like Black Panther's introduction into that film was actually done pretty well as well as Spider-Man's. But it was a bit of a cluster. It wasn't perfect. And often I find a lot of the DC films also, when there are like 3 villains or like 2 heroes or whatever, it can get a little overwhelming. But I never felt like I couldn't follow what was going on. Every time there was a new character or a new area, or we're dealing with a new perspective, it never felt overwhelming to me. It also seemed like in the fun scenes, like they were having a great time. Like I said, like Winston Duke chews the scenery in every scene he's in. And I really liked that character, especially now that, like, in the first movie, he's meant to seem overwhelming and intimidating. And it turns out he's just a very smart, giant goofball. And we get to see it more in this, And then Dinah Guerrera's Okoye, I think, like, is great in previous films, but really gets to show a side of her that we haven't seen before in this film.
Yeah.
And I think that was really cool, too. But
Okoye
again,
might be the standout for me of this movie. I really enjoyed Okoye in this film.
Yeah, and me too. And I think it's hard for me to see past Namor as a favorite, just because again I was so tied to enjoying this character. Like I used to get into schoolyard fights with people who liked Aquaman. I'm like, Aquaman stinks. Namor's where it's at. But like
I thought Namor was a good villain. he had believable, understandable, motivations for what goes on in the movie. I think those are. I would put Namor, this depiction of Namor in this film, I would put him up there as the upper echelon of MCU villains for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think what both Black Panther movies have done is given us villains that we can sympathize with, who aren't like. They're not out of line completely. Like, you can see their point of view. You can understand why they feel the way they feel. And, like, you see that in other Marvel films, too, depending on the film. But, like, no one's identifying with Loki. We just think he's hot, right? Like, you identify with Loki in the Loki series more because we get to see a different side of him. But in that first Avengers film, like, he's a supervillain. Like, he is cliche in that way. And that's the intention, right? He's meant to be that kind of cliche supervillain. But like here, you are learning about not just Namor, but all of his people and where they came from and why they do what they're doing. Also, the fight choreography was incredible. Like the soundtrack, like I didn't think they could top that first Black Panther soundtrack, and I don't know that they did, but it's definitely up there as one of the better comic book movie soundtracks, up there with Black Panther 1 and Birds of Prey and those kinds of films.
I mean, that Rihanna song alone. Like,
it's just rules.
The credits, that's a tearjerker when that song plays.
Yep. And like, I'm curious where this goes, right? Like, I'm not going to talk about the post-credits scene. I'm not even going to allude to it, but like, it, as all good mid-credits scenes do, it answers and creates a lot more questions. And so I'm always curious when reveals like that do that and where they'll go, right? Because they're pretty good. I mean, Marvel's made a career at this point of teasing things and not really giving you solid answers. So we'll see. I mean, the next one is Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, with another anti-vaxxer, the anti-masker, and Evangeline Lilly. Ugh. Anyway, but...
I'm terrifically worried that the news cycle is ruining my appreciation for film.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
The hype machine is doing the opposite machine.
Yeah, you're not wrong at all.
I will say, you can at least rest easy. My theory with Quantumania is that this will be the end of Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly. So,
yeah,
that
I mean,
be,
yeah,
or at least, I'm not saying that they necessarily, die in the MCU or something, but I think it seems like they recast Cassie.
Yeah,
that's going to be the Ant-Man character moving forward.
Well, yeah, it does look like they are leaning towards the Young Avengers with the Hawkeye TV series and other stuff. Like, it does seem like we're going to the next gen of the Avengers. So, yeah. But
I mean, Paul Rudd can't die. Have you seen him? Like,
he'll live
age.
forever.
Yeah,
he doesn't age.
He just plays Celery Man alone in his home, and it just rejuvenates him.
Thank you for referencing Celery Man, one of
Always.
the best things
Literally
ever made.
Paul Rudd can be Ant-Man all he wants. He'll always be Celery Man to me. Forever. No changing that. It's very important. Formative in my Red story.
What if in the MCU, in a version of the multiverse, Paul Rudd comes out as Celery Man?
That would be amazing.
Puke.
It would be great.
I'd puke. I'd be so excited. It'd be terrible. Well, Matt.
Yes.
If you had to sum up Black Panther, Wakanda Forever in just 3 words, and you can't use those last 4 words I just said, how would you describe this movie?
Emotional and inspiring.
Emotional and inspiring. Love it. Good stuff.
And I didn't obviously mention this, but I love the diversity of this film. The range of actors and actresses, the people that they cast, like they're just people I've heard of, people I've never heard of. And also, I just want to say there are members of the Dor Milaje. I definitely mispronounced that. Dor Milaje. That like get highlighted in a way that they really didn't in the first film. A few of them did, but like a lot more of them got to have some kind of personality or even like a lot more lines and interaction. It was just, I really loved that because they are an incredible force and a fixture in the comics, and it's cool to see them kind of get to step forward a little more in this film. Yeah. All right. So moving on from the MCU hype machine, Rachel, what is the most recent thing that you have watched?
The anime era is over.
Oh, no.
For now. At least there's been a stopgap
Okay.
In the form of, I mean, you could say this is a slice of life anime if you want to, but it is live action. I went back to the treasure trove. Well, I didn't go back to the treasure trove. I've never watched this show before, but it's from 1993. Television series called Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Yes.
I have watched almost all of season 1.
Okay.
I skipped a few episodes in the middle and watched the finale because I was running out of time, and I was like, I think this will be okay. I think there might be one really good episode I missed and one oh no, oh so bad episode that I also missed. But what I watched, which was most of it, and the finale, I love it. I love it. It's just a little western town,
Yeah.
but it's space. It's just a western town with a saloon, but it's space. I can't believe it. I'm charmed. I'm swooning.
I mean,
Bashir, you sweet little fuck boy. I have so many feelings about these characters already, and I know that this is only going to escalate in quality as it goes forward. But this is the most I've liked a season 1 of a Star Trek ever.
Yeah, they tend to start a little rough in
Yeah.
almost every case, but this is one of the best shows, in my opinion, that they've done.
Yeah.
I still like Next Generation better, but that's more nostalgia, I think, than anything else. But Deep Space Nine is fantastic, and space Jewish stereotypes aside, I think it's done mostly very well.
Yeah. Oh, there are so many problems that just, it's the 90s television doing things not ideal. But I love that these characters have like depth of humanity, and like you do explore their inner lives. No one is without an episode or a very solid like B plot giving them something, and I just can't get over how 90s this acting is. It is amazing. I've been watching this very weird YouTube series where someone takes the outtakes from Deep Space Nine and Next Generation episodes and puts them into the scenes where they were cut from. So you just have like weird interactions between the actors, and it's supposed to feel like it's part of the scene. And watching Deep Space Nine just put me in the space of, I expect any of these to become the outtakes suddenly. Like, we've just lingered on one person for too long, and then they're just like, and they like throw their hands up and almost look in the camera. It's such a delight.
That's amazing. I love that.
Missed this kind of acting. I love that we've taken this art form into like these very real spaces, dealing with feeling through. But damn, I just love when somebody's just shaking and rocks are flying at them. It's great. It's comfort. It's warm on a very cold mid-November evening. It's just filled me with bubbles and effervescence, and also questions and problems and the Rick Berman of it all.
Are you a Star Trek fan, Brenden, at all?
I'm gonna have to unfortunately pull out and revoke my nerd card because Star Trek is one of the areas where I am not. I've never. What was the like reboot movie called? Was it just called Star Trek?
It was just called Star Trek.
Yeah.
Was there a sequel called Into something? Like
Into
Darkness.
Darkness.
Okay, I have seen those in theaters, but that's pretty much like the extent of my Star Trekness. For not really any reason, I don't think, other than I've just
There's
never
a lot
watched
of
Star
it.
Trek.
Yeah.
There is a
there's
lot of it, like a lot.
And
Yeah.
and so many of these seasons take so long to take off. And I kind of miss that series were more allowed to do that. They like could take their time and breathe and figure out
Yeah.
what they're doing, like change a haircut or something. But now that we've got sort of this like instant streaming world, it's like this has to be a hit from the moment those credits drop. Like it's gotta. you know.
You really did go from anime to like sort of still anime by going to Star Trek.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Really thinking about it, just going, yeah, no, this is slice of life anime, but all the actors are real, but their designs are just as wild. I love we got a new set of aliens from the Gamma Quadrant. Put weird shit on their face.
Yep.
Just put something weird on their face. That's it. That's all you gotta do. Just put a weird tattoo on their forehead. Obviously, for plot, this is following the adventures on a space station called Deep Space Nine, orbiting the planet of Bajor, and so the beginning of this is the end of a regime that held power over the Bajorans for like 60 years. So like the Cardassians, they were in charge, but now they're out. The Bajorans setting up a new government. So they bring in some Starfleet folk to hang on the old Cardassian space station. So there's tension between Bajor as they're establishing their new government. Obviously, the Cardassians want to like take over again. Exploits within the space station, with like Quark being just this chaotic mess, just the most D&D character I've ever met. And it really does have that old weekly Western vibe, because it's essentially a little saloon town. Everybody hangs out at the bar. You've got sort of like your sheriff characters who have to work together. Sometimes there's a murder mystery. Sometimes there's just an old man who doesn't want to move off the moon. It's great. I love it. 10 out of 10 on this Star Trek. No joke. Already. I'm already in love.
I love that you've gone on this Star Trek journey. As someone who's been a lifelong fan, it's like, it's just fun. It's funny though, because I don't know that I could tell you major plot points off the top of my head, but if we started talking about Deep Space Nine, it would come back to me. It's just been so long since I've watched it. But I've been watching all the new stuff. You know, I am enjoying Discovery. I'm enjoying Picard. I mean, Picard is nostalgia bait. Like, it is designed for people who love The Next Generation. So, like, I'm into all of that.
Honestly, I started Deep Space Nine because I felt some FOMO at the inside humor from the Lower Decks episode where they go to Deep Space Nine. I was just like, I don't have any context for this. And now I'm watching the credits going, oh, like the joke from Lower Decks. They did that.
Lower Decks is great. It's my favorite kind of tribute to a franchise because it makes fun of itself constantly.
Yeah.
Like, I love a lot of the Star Wars animation, but a lot of it takes itself pretty seriously, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Some of those the shows that I've seen are really great, but like shows that take the piss are my favorite. Like, I love laughing at myself. So when it like something I love also likes to laugh at itself, it's my favorite thing. But yeah, I'm glad that you're in Deep Space Nine. I'm curious how you'll feel about it when you get to the end. I think it just gets better, but I'm curious how you will feel once you've finished it, especially finishing it now instead of when it came out.
Well, I'm guessing all of this like weird prophet emissary stuff from the black hole is gonna be, or the wormhole's gonna be important, and that's real. It's a real weird way to start, but that's fine. It's an anime. Just watch Star Trek like it's an anime, and you'll get it.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, is Deep Space Nine considered like there's a lot of Star Trek, so like I don't know like what people consider this is the best Star Trek and this is the worst Star Trek. Like where does Deep Space fall like on that
it's pretty highly ranked.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people who love Star Trek's favorite Star Trek.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
But and I get it already. There's definitely a lot more just general like critical praise for Next Generation.
Okay.
It kind of kickstarted the whole thing because then you got Deep Space Nine, you got Voyager. I think you got Enterprise a little bit after, which was like in the far past, and they rub goo on each other, and I'll never watch it. I'm sorry, I'm not watching that one.
It's okay.
But they've all got like a certain level of cheese, no matter what.
Yeah.
They're designed that way, and I think that's why
Yeah.
I enjoy them, because they get a little goofy. Like, but it's also because it's more about space politics and like
Yeah.
more discovery and less fighting. Like, there is action and fighting, but that's not the focus in a similar way that like Star Wars focuses on that.
Yeah, like really, really interesting episode. I know I made a joke about a guy who doesn't want to move away from his moon, but it's a really like thoughtful episode about what home means to people and like what life is like without those places. And it's also presented from the point of view of our sort of like Bajoran liaison officer. She's sort of second in command. She's not a part of Starfleet, and she's reconciling a lot of her feelings moving past this conflict that took up so much of her life, suddenly now being an authority figure telling someone else what to do. Not out of a, I need to control you, but if you don't leave this moon, you will die. You know, it's very thoughtful, but also absolutely bug nuts. I want to live on the planet where someone starts with Deep Space Nine, and the episode that Q appears, who's a very big character from Next Generation, just gets this very dramatic shot without the show telling you who it is, and you don't see him again for another 20 minutes. And I'm just like, do you think anybody just wondered, who the fuck was that one guy? Like, why was it so important we looked at him? Because we just spent way too much time with his, like, partner in crime. It's great.
Yeah,
Oh,
Star
it's a
Trek is
delight.
it's pretty context heavy, but Deep Space Nine's a good one. I'm curious once you finish the whole thing how you'll feel about it.
Yeah, I think it's really cute. I've also, like, obviously fallen into, like, the meme culture surrounding characters like Garrick.
Sure. Yeah.
And seeing him for the first time, I'm like, yes, Garrick is love, Garrick is life, Garrick is queer. Absolutely, you know. Just the Rick Bourbon parts, just pick those out, like something in a salad that you don't like. I was gonna say olives in a salad, but I like olives in a salad.
Yeah, then yeah. I mean, the olive rule is a thing, but it doesn't apply to you if
So it doesn't apply to me, but I also am a disgusting monster who's now realized that Star Trek is anime.
Well, Rachel, if you had to sum up Star Trek Deep Space Nine in just 3 words and you could not use any of those words I just said, which 3 words would you use?
No, this is just for season 1.
Right. Well, not
So-
all of it, just for
Yeah,
the first
I don't
season.
know. Yeah, just
Sum
for the
up
first
the
season.
first season, yes.
Warm, weird, wonderful.
There you go. 3 W's. Love it.
Yeah.
Love
you
that.
know, you gotta do an alliteration sometimes.
Once in a while. Awesome. Well, I'm happy for you to. I'm intrigued to hear you report back as you continue to watch through the series. But now it is time to turn to our guest, Brenden Groom. What is the most recent thing you, my friend, have watched?
You really don't want to know.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
So-
then I really do want to know.
So here, we're in an interesting situation here. So I'll mention the few things, and then whatever we feel like chatting about, we can chat about.
All right.
You caught me at a very interesting crossroads because I feel like I would say I don't normally watch a lot of things. I watch very specific things, and that's what I do.
Right.
We just, 2 weeks, but we just finished the PTC movie club for October. So like one of the things we do once a month is we watch a movie and then we all talk about it. And those picks have, I feel like, been getting more and more chaotic. So I did just recently watch Shrek the Musical.
Oh, I did see that you guys covered that.
Oh,
And-
that's great.
and
I'm
it was
glad. On
It was a
that,
double feature for October. So we watched that and we watched Little Shop of Horrors, which is not as cringy as watching Shrek the Musical.
For sure.
But on top of that, I regularly, weekly, look forward to my Friday new episodes of The Great British Baking Show. So that is also an option, as well as I'm a sucker for Dan Levy, and he has a new show on HBO
Ooh.
called The Big Brunch, which is basically Bake Off but brunch.
Ooh.
And then my mental health comfort food every night is rewatching Seinfeld, and I am on like my second full rewatch this year because mental health.
Yeah.
But also the final thing, and then we can, I don't know, not talk about anything, is I started rewatching Ted Lasso because also mental health food. So
Yeah, sure.
I don't know what y'all have covered in the past. I don't know what you want to chat about, but any of those things are fair game for me.
Well, so typically, first of all, repeats are always welcome because not every guest is going to have the same perspective on the same thing that they've watched. But typically, I mean, it's usually guest choice. So, I mean, if there's something you really want to go on about or chat about, we're happy to feature that thing as the topic.
Well, this is tough. I love Baking Show, but I also love Ted Lasso, and I kind of love Seinfeld. So I don't know what to do.
Listen, you got me. I love competition reality shows. If you want to take me to church on the Big Brunch,
Yeah, I mean, I'll listen to that. I love Dan Levy, so I'm in.
yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the Big Brunch a little bit because I think it is definitely a show worth watching, especially if you like Bake Off. Because I think what draws me the most to Bake Off is the fact that, like, especially American cooking shows to me are just like not my jam. They're usually like very stressful and like angry, and I don't know. I like, it's fun to watch. Like, more in Discord, and I don't know if you've been in those viewings, Matt, but when we've watched things like whatever, that Hell's Kitchen, the thing that Jesse watches, like it's fun in a group setting to laugh at this nonsense. But like, I don't think that would be something I would choose to put on personally because it's just not my type of vibe. Whereas Bake Off is like, yeah, there's stress in the tent, and they definitely, are trying to be the best they can be and make the best thing and win this competition. But I think, the fact that they're not playing for money, I think kind of levels it a little bit, where it's like, yeah, it's cool to win this show and get this little, whatever it is, like a plate or something.
It's a pie tin.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Like, that's cool and all that, but I feel like there's just a much better community on the show because it's less, we're going to yell at you if you mess something up. We're going to coach you on it, and maybe Paul Hollywood will get a little, like, agitated about a specific thing you did wrong. You didn't save enough time. You didn't use enough butter, whatever it may be. But he's never yelling at someone. And I feel like Prue is a good equalizer of always like, hey, I'm going to just tell you if it tastes good, and I'm not going to really get too much into the minutia most of the time and be that good equalizer. And then they have the two comedians that are also there to kind of continue to level things out and keep things as light as possible. So if you like that show, and that's why I like that show overall, because it's just a different type of cooking show than most of the shows in the United States.
They help each other out in the
Yes,
kitchen.
they really do.
Yeah.
Especially in this season. I don't know if either of you are watching this current season.
No, I needed to take a break after Mel and Sue left because I was very emotionally attached to Mel and Sue, and I'm finally getting to the point where, like, okay, I think I can watch these new comedians. I think I'm ready.
Noel is very good. Like,
I really loved Mel and Sue. Like, something in me died when they weren't back.
I can understand that. I feel like give Noel a chance and you'll be happy because Noel is great.
No, because like I've followed like the Great Pottery Throwdown, like the florist one. I'm ready to return to home base.
Okay,
so.
all right.
But I also may stop at Big Brunch.
Yeah.
Before.
Well, Big Brunch is currently ongoing, so there's only a couple episodes, so you could eat that up real quick.
Ooh, think about it week to week.
I don't know when episodes come out for that, actually. I need to find out, because that means I should have a new one this week. But anyways, Bake Off, fantastic. Big Brunch kind of falls in that same, type of show. Obviously, Bake Off is about baking things. The Big Brunch is about brunch-related cooking. I think you get kind of the same thing, probably because if listeners or if either of you didn't know, Dan Levy hosts the Canadian version of British Bake Off. So he already has that sort of kind of, this is what I already know how to do kind of thing. But it's just a very, like, they have a critic. I forget what her name is. Let me see if I can pull it up real quickly. Sola, I don't know how to say the last name. El Waylili, maybe. But that person is more of the food critic who is sort of, the Paul Hollywood of the show, kind of digging into the minutia, critiquing it on a little more of a technical lens. The other person on there, Will, also sort of does that, but I would say not as much. And then obviously Dan Levy, regardless of his technical prowess when it comes to cooking, is there for a little bit more of like a let's have fun and like let's like, you know, talk about these things on a more human level and stuff like that. And I will say it probably does help that on each episode they do have a bartender and the 3 judges are drinking throughout the show. So like I think
must.
that yes, you absolutely should, especially if you're having brunch food. I
It's
mean, it just goes
brunch.
hands in hand. Yeah. But the first 3 episodes are out. Like it premiered last week, and it premiered with the first 3 episodes, so you could get like a full kind of taste of the show. And it functions similarly to Bake Off, where it's like, you know, they have 3. I think they do 3 separate like meals or challenges or whatever it may be, and they're all sort of themed in some way. And they definitely do some interesting things with some of the themes for what the challenges are and whatnot. Whereas Bake Off, you get like it's bread week, it's pastry week, it's whatever week. Mexico week was really bad this year. British people don't know what to do with avocados. I'll just say that. But the Big Brunch is good. I'm hopeful. I hope it is something that can last and continue, because when Bake Off seasons end, I need something similar, and there really isn't. And I end up just watching old seasons of Bake Off to get my fill. So I would recommend the Big Brunch. I think it's, if you have HBO Max, it's definitely worth checking out. I think they have a good cast of people on there that are there for different reasons. I think there is a cash prize, so obviously there are a little bit elevated stakes, but so far it's sort of captured the same type of community where everyone there seems to be like not cutthroat and yelling and mean to each other. It's more of like, hey, when this person does well, like we're celebrating that and that's great, and like when this person does bad, like we're gonna hug them and like be a community in this kitchen, which is nice to see. So that's
I
the
love
Big
that.
Brunch.
Yeah, the
where
reality
it feels
TV.
like it's like a salon and a
Yeah.
competition where it's like, well, I can learn from you. It's an anime.
Yes, it's Food Wars.
It's Food Wars. God, I love Food Wars.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, and we've talked about reality TV a bunch. Like the competitive, angry, mean ones, I can't watch. I have to parachute out of those. I can't do it. But like ones that are more friendly or uplifting, I like those a lot more. I can stick around. And also, again, I have a massive crush on Dan Levy, so that will help beyond anything else. And how could I not? But it sounds interesting. I like when these shows are more communal and more supportive. Once they get cutthroat, it's like it's very hard for me to stay with it. I tried watching The Circle. I think I talked about the first season here once. But
I
like
think
it just
actually on the Jessica Howard episode.
yes, I believe so. Or maybe Jessica talked about it, but I had seen
Yes.
a bunch of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was their thing, I believe.
Yeah, and like it's just when they get weird or competitive or deceptive, it's like I can't. It's like watching a train wreck, and I know some people can't look away, but I can't do it. So
It's weird too, because like I have a competitive edge, and I like competitive things, and I like being competitive in certain arenas, but like
Right.
that is not an area I am interested in having. That like healthy competition, like Bake Off, fantastic. Like this weird, angry Xbox lobby type of feel is just not my thing.
I get that.
No one needs to scream in my face because I burnt something. Like
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No one
No.
needs to call me
Yeah.
an idiot sandwich.
Yeah.
This isn't worth it.
No.
It's just we grind this up in our little teeth, and then we turn it to poop. Calm down.
It's fine.
It's fine. Don't take
I
it
want-
so serious.
I hope you get to Rachel someday meet Gordon Ramsay so you can say that to his face. That would be lovely for me. I would appreciate it.
The only time I'm meeting Gordon Ramsay is in the ring when I fight him
There you go.
to be the best chef.
Well, Brenden, if you had to sum up the Big Brunch in just 3 words, and you could not use those 3 words, the big or brunch,
Sorry.
what 3 words would you choose? And it doesn't have to be a sentence. It can just be 3 words. It doesn't have to be alliterative. It can literally be
whatever.
literally any 3 words.
So I'm gonna pull the curtain back a little bit. All day today, when I'm at work, I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna end up talking about Ted Lasso because I love that show, and it's been like putting
It's
me in a
so
mood. So I've been
good.
thinking
It's
about.
so great.
I've been thinking about what my 3 words would be for Ted Lasso. So I feel like I cheated, and I had something in my pocket for Ted Lasso, and now we're doing the Big Brunch, and I I messed up. I didn't study for the test. So I will say, more? No. I wanted to try to figure out something funny to be like Dan Levy's sweater, but
Yeah.
he doesn't dress as good on this as he does in Schitt's Creek.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's not actually David.
I mean, but really though,
Oh, yeah, that's fair. No, that's fair.
But couldn't he have just like yoinked the style?
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna dress
Right.
like this now.
well, he definitely has a style on the show, and it's not bad. I don't want to like
Yeah.
Dan if you're listening, but you know,
God.
it's just everyone tweet this show at him. When
Right,
when it goes
exactly.
live.
Yeah, no, don't
Yeah,
do that.
definitely
Please
do
do
that.
not.
And then tell
Don't.
Dan to
do
come
not.
fight me.
Yeah, yes. Now Dan's
No,
gonna
I-
come fight you in the ring.
Exactly.
See, this
It's
is
gonna
who
be
the
a-
best comedian
it's
host of a brunch show is.
It's gonna be a idiot sandwich with you in the middle of Dan and Gordon.
There you
It's gonna
go.
be great for me. Wow, what a boost for my brand new, very terrible career.
I guess not idiot sandwich.
Not
Okay,
idiot
sure.
sandwich. I love that.
Love that.
But
Perfect.
I do have to know, what were your 3 words for Ted Lasso going to be?
Oh,
Yeah.
it wasn't anything like super clever. It was just I was thinking about it all day, and I was just gonna say believe in yourself, because
Yeah.
that's what that show makes me feel.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I love that show.
It's
Gosh,
so good.
I
I
love that
cannot wait
show.
for the next season. Have you guys seen the video on Twitter of the actor who plays Coach Beard as
Yes.
Coach Beard
Yes. I
singing
already know what you're gonna say, yes.
Bad Romance? It's so good. I'll
It
send
really
it to you,
is.
Rachel, if you haven't seen
Delightful.
it. It's,
Delightful.
I'm gonna make this statement right here on this podcast right now.
Please do.
I think Ted Lasso might have the best ensemble cast of any TV show ever.
I would
Yes.
agree.
I
would agree.
deeply agree.
Also because it has some of the best evolution in its cast. I mean, just what is it Nate is the character's name?
Yeah,
Goes
Nate,
through like just perfect.
Nate,
And then
Whoosh, Jamie Tart, Whoosh.
so yeah, they all do. Yeah.
Wow.
It's
just
just
Roy
all
Kent,
good.
Roy
Roy-
freaking
Roy King
Kent.
Roy
Kent.
Kent is
He's
Roy
gonna
Kent
be
is my
so
spirit
mad
animal.
when we win him over. Yes, he is.
He's the best.
He-
The whole cast is phenomenal, and we can't go off on Ted Lasso, but like
we can though.
we
It's our
can-
show.
I
mean, we can.
I want.
we can. It's our show. But the women in that show were all cast for you to think in the first few episodes that they're going to be a bimbo or selfish
The
or whatever.
girlfriend, the vengeful ex-wife.
But they grow so fast beyond those caricatures. But they let them live in them for like an episode, right? So you think that's where it's headed, and then they all. It's just and going back to Brendan Hunt's Coach Beard, like the epitome of less is more. He is so good, and he is often doing so little, and it's always great, no matter what it is. Ted Lasso, can't wait for that new season.
Oh,
Can't come
yeah.
fast enough.
Oh, oh.
Well,
Go
Brendan,
back
we
and
have.
rewatch.
We've reached the part of the show where we talk to you about what you do, and you, the main thing that you do is Pass the Controller, an incredible website and podcast. And like, I'm going to compliment you whether you like it or not. That's just how I roll. But what I'm curious about, because I don't actually think I know this story. I don't think I've asked you about it. But how did this site and podcast come to be? I mean, you've been doing it for a while. You're in the 300s now, episode numbers?
343.
So halfway through the 300. So it's been going on for a while. I'm curious, like, how this thing came to be. Where was the inspiration for the show?
Okay, so I don't think
Story time.
I don't think I've ever talked about this on a podcast.
Hell yeah.
Scoop.
Exclusive.
It's exclusive. So I have always known that I've wanted to do something like with video games or in the video game industry, and ideally, and I think initially it was always on the creative side, or I'd want to go work at one of these studios that I love.
Right.
And I still think that if I stay doing stuff like this, that is the eventual goal, to end up somewhere that I think I could just be creatively fulfilled.
Right.
So it's always been there since I was a kid. Writing video game ideas to Nintendo and like sending them letters and stuff like that.
Right.
And then sometime around like 2011, 2012, me and Todd, one of the members of Pass the Controller, we were just always talk about video games. We were just always talking about these things. And back then, like, I didn't know anybody that had a podcast or did stuff like this. And it was just always something of like, I listened to a few shows. I feel like we have good opinions, like, but it wasn't like, we're not doing a podcast. We're just like talking about what could we ever do and like what we could bring to the table that would be different or fun or whatever. And we started doing stuff back then, but it was, you know, I was still in college. We're both working full-time jobs. Like, that's just not what things are. And I still work a full-time job, but obviously, you know, this is also a second full-time job in a lot of ways that just doesn't pay me any money or enough money or, you know.
Yeah.
But it was when we decided to loop in Mike and Dom where it was like, okay, the four of us have great chemistry together. We're great friends. We've been friends forever. There were specific shows and ideas that I think I took inspiration from that were not video game related, where I was like, I feel like this type of like real connection between real people who know each other for a long time didn't exist, or I didn't find it, or I didn't find one that I liked. And I was like, I'm just going to make that show because this is the show I would want to listen to. So we did that back in 2013, and it was slow start. You know, I would try to wrangle everyone together. Let's do this weekly, monthly, whatever it may be, and let's make this happen. And, you know, with anything, it takes time, and over time it grew and whatnot. But it's always been something that I've wanted to do and pursue. And even before the podcast, it was really writing that I was pursuing, because I'm an English major, creative writing minor, and I write creatively primarily. Like, I write poetry, music. Like, that's like a lot of my passion for creating stuff comes from creating love poetry, of all things.
Amazing.
But like that's the type of stuff that I'm one of these tortured people that I feel like I have a lot of minimal level creative gifts, and I don't excel specifically anywhere. So I have constantly, like, I like to paint, I like to draw, I like to write, like I like to do all these things. I think writing is my best thing. But I've always just like, where can I put these to use? What can I do? And it just continued to grow, and eventually over time it turned into a weekly show. It turned into meeting fantastic people like you, Matt, and like you, Rachel, and, you know, all of the other people that we all know and stuff like that. And I've had great opportunities to host panels and, you know, work with people from IGN and work from people from, you know, Kind of Funny and GameSpot and like all these places. And it's like, how am I doing this? Like, I'm just some guy. Like, I'm just some person from this city of witches. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. I've always flirted with the idea of like moving to California or moving to New York, because that's where you got to be to make it. And I don't know. I'm doing something from here. I feel like I went off in a tangent, but
no, you're good.
No.
No, I mean, I don't. Well, first of all, I think it's an illusion that you have to be somewhere to do stuff, because like most of my podcasting career has been online and came to like a head during the pandemic. So like, I think your place of origin is kind of irrelevant. And like the idea you were talking about before of how it got started because it was just a bunch of friends with good chemistry. I mean, that's what this show is Rachel and I were friends for years. And we've told the story before. We tried to start the podcast. There's an episode 0 pilot that will never air that we did with an incredible director who was lovely, but like it just wasn't the right version of this show yet. We didn't do it for a while. And then Rachel was like, hey, why don't we should do that thing. I like you. This is fun. Let's do this thing. And we did. And I mean, and I've told this story before too, but like Fun and Games that I do with Jeff, like that was literally, we're sitting on the couch talking loudly and enthusiastically about playing video games, and our spouses were like, why don't you guys do a podcast or something? Like, just stop it. Like, go away. I'm paraphrasing.
Don't threaten us with a good time, Sarah's.
Pretty much. And like, I think that there's, like, I've listened to a large variety of shows, but like the reason shows like Waypoint and Pass the Controller and a few others like Normandy FM, like the camaraderie has to be real. If it's manufactured, I can absolutely tell immediately and I check out. I have no interest in listening to people pretending to be friends.
Yeah.
That's not fun for me.
Yeah, like when Mike brushes me off on the show, it's not because he doesn't genuinely mean that. He's like, no, I tuned you out because I don't want to listen to you talk.
Right.
And that's just a genuine feeling. It's not an act.
No, definitely not. As someone who spent some time with him, it is definitely true, and it's delightful every time. And what's something that I want to like shift to though is, so obviously you have a lot of different genres you love: fighting games, JRPGs, whatever else. But the thing that I find you promoting the most is indie games. A thing that's similar to what we do on Fun and Games. We often lean into the indie scene. And for us, it's obviously because they have a smaller voice, right? They reach less people, and so we want to lift them up. But also for us, it's like, I feel like I identify with indie games more, and Rachel and I have talked about that before too. Is that a similar thing for you? Do you just find that you love a lot more indie and the quality of indie work versus other stuff?
It's tough. I'll say this. Part of the reason why I will always champion indies whenever I can is I feel like when I initially started doing that, there were a lot less people who were vocal about indie games. I feel like there are a lot more people with platforms talking about indie games now, and I think, there's always seemingly every year at least one indie darling that sort of kind of carries the conversation now for indie games, whether it's the year of Celeste and Dead Cells, or if it's the year of whatever it may be. I feel like there is at least one indie darling. Hollow Knight, like there's always something that can, like, this is the indie, and for some people it's like, cool, their experience with that is, this is the indie game, and like no other indie game matters, which is kind of negative to, I think, the indie movement as well, and the indie community. But at the end of the day, there are always going to be people who just disregard indie games and don't care about them and never play them for whatever reason it may be. Which, if that's how you want to choose to engage with this entertainment, that's also fine. You can play your God of War and your Call of Duty, and that's your experience. I'm not trying to say you're incorrect for having that experience, but I think that the more people that can champion indies, the better. And I mean, I love some of the big indies. I love, I'll always go to bat for Shovel Knight, even though everyone knows Shovel Knight. But I also, will scream about Sayonara Wild Hearts whenever someone gives me the chance to do so.
I cry every time I play that game. Every time.
Yes.
Oh, I gotta play again.
That soundtrack finds its way into my car very often.
Same.
I didn't contemplate any of those songs as ring entrance music. Not at all. Definitely not.
Yeah.
They're not on a playlist.
But I don't know. I just feel like that scene, something about that. I mean, obviously, like indie games, like there's some level of like, I'm an indie podcast, like I'm an independent thing, this small thing, trying to, what some people ascribe as like my catchphrase is make it happen, which I don't personally ascribe that to myself, but I do say it a lot. Like, I'm just trying to make it happen. Like, I'm just trying to make this thing happen out of what I am able to do. And I feel like it just made sense because I genuinely care about indie games, but to lean into that in the beginning because a lot of people weren't. Our first guest on the podcast was Yacht Club Games, and it still doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why they said yes to talking to us. We did not have anything behind us. It was very early in the show. And it just, I don't know, it just continued to solidify, like, no, this is what I want to do. And it's funny that you brought this up because I feel like we haven't had an indie game developer on recently, but we just haven't had a lot of guests on recently. I don't know, mental health. But
Sure.
I've been kind of building a backlog of people who I'm setting up future dates with to get some more indie devs back on, just because I like having those conversations. I like highlighting those things when I can. Obviously an event like PAX is fantastic because it gives you the opportunity to meet a lot of indie devs and play a lot of indie games, because those are sort of more of the focus than something like an E3 or whatever it may be. But indies just have always kind of accented and, like, I think have been pillars of my journey so far. Like, Yacht Club was the first guest, and so that episode of the show, they came on. I was nervous. I'll never not be nervous thinking about that episode. Probably like 30 minutes into the episode, they were recording it from their office, from their like studio. they're just like, hey, the fire alarm's going off, so we gotta go. I'm like, oh no, it's totally fine. And then we're just like sitting there, and I'm like, was that bad? Like, did they just like find an excuse to stop recording with us? And then like, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes went by, and then I get a message like, hey, all's good here if you guys want to like continue to talk. And I was like, whoa, okay, never mind. And then we talked for like another hour and a half, which was fantastic. And it was just like, okay, cool. That's like the first little benchmark for me about this journey. And then, you know, there have been other highlights with great indie devs coming on, chatting about stuff. But another one of these things that sort of kind of, I feel like came at the right time. There have definitely been moments in this journey, and still moments this week, where I question, like, what am I bringing to this space? What am I actually good at? Am I wasting, you know, other people's time? Am I wasting my time? Am I bringing anything here that anybody cares about? If one person cares about it, that's all that matters to me. That makes it worthwhile. And I know we do have, you know, a few hardcore fans like that that would be sad if we ever stopped doing stuff or whatever. But, you know, you get that imposter syndrome. You just, especially lately, I have dealt with, what am I doing, and is this what I should be doing, and whatnot. But there usually seems to be a life vest that gets thrown out to me in those darkest moments. One of those being another story. How long can we talk for? I don't want to like.
You're good. I
Okay.
will cut you off. Come on,
Okay.
Brendan. I ain't afraid of you. I'll take you out. I'm not.
Well, I'm giving you a bunch. I'm like, these are
Look.
stories that I've never talked about anywhere.
Yes.
That's great.
Perfect.
Exclusives.
So eventually, so I do have like, I would eventually like to write a book about this whole journey, because I feel like I do have some nuggets of information that I think would be helpful for people who are just trying to do anything on their own, because I feel like it can be daunting and it can hurt you and it can do a lot of things to you mentally. I always struggled with a lot of things and trying to measure our success. Like, are we doing better? Are we growing? Is this worth whatever it may be? And one of the things that was like always this wrench for me was, we've been going to PAX East because it's in Massachusetts since it started. Obviously, there was a point in time where Pass the Controller became a thing, and I was like, all right, I want to cover this as, you know, quote unquote media. And we would always get denied. And then I would see other people that I know get certain types of access or badges or all these things, and I'm like, I don't understand what is keeping us from that. Like, is this like the universe's way of telling me no, or this or that, or whatever it may be? And I won't say who they are because I don't want to get anyone in trouble with Penny Arcade or whatever, but there is somebody, and I won't even say what kind of badge it is, because again, I want to just get any allusion to anyone out of the way.
Right.
But there was someone that I did not know personally at all who reached out to me and asked, oh, are you guys going to PAX again this year? I'm like, yeah, we're going. Oh, talking about PAX, whatever. Oh, are you going as, you know, media, whatever? No, I'm like, no, unfortunately, no. And they were able to get additional other type of badge, and they started giving them to me and Mike to get into the show, to get certain access and coverage. And like, I don't mind paying to go on the show. Like, that's not the issue here. The issue is like, if you don't get media access, unfortunately, like, it bars you from developer emails and being able to set up appointments. And that's like the gold, is like, I need to be able to set up an appointment and not wait in a line and like get these interviews or do these things. Like, that's what I'm here for. And this other avenue presented itself and became a thing for years, because we continually would not get access to PAX. And the funniest thing is that I'm pretty sure the first year that we got a media badge was after we had already gotten badges for being special guests for having a panel. So it's just like a weird thing of like, why am I not getting a media badge? I don't understand.
Right.
And I don't care. I want to be able to cover the show in like a full capacity, and have the same level of like everyone else's access to these things. So that was like life vest. Like, hey, don't give up. We're going to help you. I don't know you. I still don't understand how they found us, or like whatever, or why they even trusted us, or all these things. Because again, if Penny Arcade or someone found out that they were doing that, like, they would get banned from the show. Like, it was just a lot of things, and it, you know, would have created issues for a lot of people. And that happened. And then a few years go by, and we still are not getting access to the show. I wrote a stupid article, just, I believe it was called, like, Why Indie Games Matter, or, like, Why Indie Games Should Matter to You, or something stupid like that. And it got read somehow. I still don't understand. It got read by the two people that at the time were in charge of Nintendo's indie side of things, who like would star in the Nintendo Directs and all this stuff. So like Nintendo employees. And I'm still to this day don't understand how they came across it. I don't have a large platform. I don't have a big following on social media. They found it. They both read it. They shared it. They reached out to me. We had conversations, like fantastic stuff. And I'm just like, okay, this is like another Life Fest, like dark times. Who is seeing this? Like, I spend time writing something and like, I never know if anyone reads it or whatever it may be. And I don't know. I'm going to stop doing these things, but like these are the types of things that I don't even know why we're on this topic. You should not have let me talk.
Well, you were talking about your mental health and like how it's not always easy to keep going. And I know Rachel and I have felt that way with this show, other things we've done. I think it's so many things. It's our listeners who are great. It's the guests that we have that are great. Like there will like Rachel and I have both booked guests for the show that were like, wait, we're going to get to talk to that person that you want to be on our show. And I think those kinds of things keep you going. You know, I still can't believe that. I think it was last year or even 2 years ago now, I spoke to Grant Kirkhope on Fun and Games.
That's awesome.
One of my favorite composers, one of the most prolific composers in video games. And you know how it happened? I tweeted at him, hey, do you want to come on our podcast? He's like, yeah, but I can't. But yeah, and he was like, yeah, but I can't really do this via tweets. Can you write me an email via the form on my site, and I'll get back to you? And I did that, and he did, and we recorded with him, and it was great. Like when Yuri Lowenthal came on the first time, before he asked to come back, which still doesn't make sense to my brain, it was literally I reached out. He was too busy. I said, hey, can I check back next year? He said, absolutely. I did that. He said, yeah, I've got time now. Like, you never know who's going to say yes, but it just takes one person saying yes to feel that. And like, just when I start to feel burnout, like at the most recent PAX West, first of all, I'd never been to PAX West as media before, but also I got to interview Celia from Yacht Club, who is lovely. I got to interview, oh my God, I can't believe I can't remember his name, but one of the head developers over at Way Forward. Like, it's just people I've talked about for years and never dreamed of talking to. I think that having an optimistic outlook and not even necessarily believing in yourself, but still pushing forward can get you pretty far. And I, on the outside looking in, think you're absolutely deserving of it. I'd heard of Pass the Controller before I know who you were. I didn't know you were at my panel at PAX East years ago. Panel. Yeah, and like you knew Jesse before you knew me, a previous guest of this very show. Jesse got him Vitelli.
Got him.
But yeah, I mean, and I think these stories are worth telling because I think like we're also an indie podcast on a small podcast network, and people listen and they're like, oh, that must be, either they think, oh, that must be so easy, it's no big deal, or just the opposite, like, oh, I could never do that. You can do it. If you're listening right now, whatever it is, you can do it.
Yeah. Make it happen.
Oh,
there you go.
I think I found the through line to how we got to where we just got to, because we're talking about indie games initially and why I care about indies, and that eventual thing was like, oh, this person from Nintendo saw and found and met me and all this stuff because of indie games, which is still kind of wild to me.
Yeah. I mean, also, like, your initial side quest was one of my favorite indie games and one of yours, The Messenger. Like, and then you did one on Super Mario Brothers 3. So, like, showing that you have a range, like, you've been playing games a long time. And I think that passion for, like, you showed in those episodes is why we've connected, why I've appreciated being your friend, and why I'm inspired by you, is because you don't shy away from what you're passionate about. You lean into it. You've shared your music with me, which I think is really great. But you're like, no, I don't want to talk about it. You're so shy about it. It's very sweet.
No, I'm proud of that stuff.
You
I just
should
think
be.
that genuinely nobody cares about that, which is fine. That's why I don't publicly put my music up anywhere anymore. We have graduated past MySpace, Brendan. We're no longer there.
Fair enough. We all had a MySpace persona at some point, for better or worse.
I mean, I technically was a SoundCloud rapper at some point, I guess you could say, because that's where I would put my music after MySpace.
My MySpace is a weird time capsule of when I was a 19-year-old theater intern.
Ooh.
Oh boy,
That's a story.
Yeah, it's bad. I looked it up recently. We were trapped in tours for a long time. I got curious. I regret that. Oh no.
Now, do you regret your top 8? Looking back now, like, is your top 8 problematic?
Everything about that MySpace page. The display name, the color scheme. Oh boy. Oh no.
Listen, if they want to save Twitter, that's what Twitter needs. You need to be able to customize when someone goes to your profile. You got to have music play. Like, that's what you need.
Yeah. Man, I miss the days of winning.
Some like looping MIDI on your Twitter profile. Just imagine.
There must be a way to do that. There's gotta be.
There's
gotta be.
I don't think Elon will let us now. This is a good idea.
No. Yeah,
Those
who knows
aren't-
if we'll even have Twitter?
Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Who knows? Brenden, this was a delight.
Yeah,
thank you for coming on the
Brendan.
show.
Thank
This
you
was so
for
much
sharing.
Thank you for having me. This was fantastic.
fun.
Real conversations.
Real conversations.
Whoa.
I'm going to bully my way back onto your podcast at some point. I haven't decided what for, but
Whatever
definitely
you
will.
want. When you finish, if you finish Persona, you should definitely come on for that. I'm curious
Okay.
what you think of Persona 5 Royal.
I will definitely do that. I mean, I'm loving it so far. I've been obsessively playing it in pieces, like a couple hours a night, and I think that's the perfect way to play this game on the Switch. Like, just pick up for a couple hours, do like 10 to 20 days, and then just put it down. Not play
I'm
for
jealous
10 to
that
20
you're
days.
playing on the Switch, because that was my biggest hurdle. Was like that game took me like 200 hours to beat. So like having time to sit down and play that when I was like, I need to play this, and anyways, I'm jealous of your Switch situation here.
Your situation.
Situation. there.
Situation.
Sorry.
I'm just happy that someone else is also like, just when the puns happen, they just
Just
say
thinking
them.
about it.
Oh,
you know.
that's just
So I'm
that
here.
Rachel's always in that
I'm
mode.
just here to like punch up the show, you know, like zingers, callbacks.
Rachel's full of bits.
Full of
bits.
Clouds full of boys. I'm full of bits. Help. Save us, Matt. Save us.
I'm trying.
I'm drowning.
Brenden, this is great. Thank you for joining us. Before we wrap up the show and ask you our final question, can you please tell folks where they can find you online, find Pass the Controller online, with the best way to support the show, all that good stuff?
I'll keep it brief. If you want to follow me, you can find me at Groom. That's BEGROOM. And if you want to, the biggest thing, if you want to listen to the show, you can look up Pass the Controller podcast wherever you listen to Screen Snark. So.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Just
Nice.
type it in your search engine. Cue it up.
But if you listen to my show from here, then you need to also make sure you're leaving a review for Screen Snark wherever you
A
listen
true
to
hero.
podcasts.
Oh boy.
I will not accept you in podcast land. The entry is a Screen Snark 5-star review.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
A
Thank
real
you for
hero.
our Chiron-esque opal across the podcast river Styx.
They did not tell me to say that. Yes, they did.
Yeah, the check's in the mail. Don't worry, Brenden.
Yeah.
Totally.
You're too opal in the mail.
Well, thank you again for joining us. We're going to ask you our final question in a minute, but Rachel, I think we have some folks to thank first.
Yes, thank you so very much to John Presnell for the use of the song Aurora off the album Fair Game featuring Stefan Rimble. What a
Also,
jam.
thank you. It is a jam. Thank you also to the incredible Katie Bug, who designed our awesome show art. We love those little cartoon versions of us.
They're so cute.
Also, they are so cute. And also thank you to our per episode show art creator, the incredible Case
No,
Aiken.
fight me. Fight me in the
Get 'em.
ring. Case
Yeah, you can say that
Aiken.
now.
It is time. I know how to do a hit. I
You've come a
learned
long way,
on
baby.
Monday last week. I'm fully prepared.
Thank you for creating all of our show arts for each episode. Also, thank you to the incredible Certain Point of View Podcast Network.
Yeah, thanks for keeping us here in your ranks. You can check out all the shows over at certainpov.com. You can join our Discord server, follow along, listen to some real jams of shows like Books
Here it comes.
That Burn.
There you go. You remembered one. What about another one?
Men of Steel.
That is also a podcast we
Panelology.
do. Panelology is a podcast on our network, correct?
I did 3. There you go.
All right, there you go. Yeah. The best part, Brendan, is it's not a bit Rachel never remembers, and also like they're staring at the person who does 4 shows on the network, ours being one of them. So like never mentions one of those. It's always the others.
Autographs.
There you go. And if you enjoyed the show and whatever the hell this ended up being, you can, of course, write us a rating and a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. I prefer Apple Podcasts because it helps us to get featured, more people to find the show. Yeah. But please do also go give Pass the Controller a 5-star review. You don't even have to listen to it first. Just give it a 5-star.
Go in there.
What's it going to hurt you?
Listen to it. Don't listen to it. Save yourself an hour and change and... drop the review, go back to stream.
If you want to listen,
great show, 10 out of 10 beans, and then we'll know that it was you.
It's from you.
It's our secret
if you're looking for
rate with beans.
If you're looking for episodes to start with, they did a Metroid retrospective that I was a part of. There's another retrospective, a Kirby retrospective that I was also a part of. Both very fun shows with incredible guests that were way better than me. And if you want to write us a missive, if Twitter still exists tomorrow, you can tweet at us, ScreenSnarkPod. No, we're just screen_snark on Twitter.
Yes.
And then screensnarkpod@gmail.com. If you want to write us an email, send us a smoke signal, all of that fun stuff.
Yell at a bird.
Yeah, just yell at a bird.
Yell at a bird about
it.
We'll get to us. The birds are going to get to us eventually.
Okay, we're spiraling into chaos, so I think I'm just going to ask Rachel to ask our guest our final question
Brenden,
so we can go home.
Would love to know, if you could choose any one trope as featured in movies or TV to instantly and magically become true in your life, which one would you choose?
Which one do I not already embody? Whatever the sad ones are, I already checked those boxes.
Why does it always rain when I'm sad?
I don't know. This is a loaded question.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I think that I don't have anything clever to say.
You don't have to be clever. You have to be true.
Yeah. Like, I mean, enemies to lovers is a trope.
Yeah.
The magical MacGuffin is a trope.
Never having to say goodbye during a phone call. You just hang up.
What's the magical MacGuffin? Is that just like the plot hole?
Like the plot hook, like this. Yeah, like a Deus Ex Machina, montages.
Yeah.
All of these are tropes.
I would love a magical MacGuffin. Can I also eat it? Like if I'm hungry?
I mean, if it's the magical MacGuffin muffin, then yeah.
Okay, all right.
It's more about your journey than the
I
thing.
do. Yeah, it is about the journey, I guess. So I feel like the magical MacGuffin's kind of a cop out. I don't know. I just want. I feel like I already lived the underdog story, so I like that.
The underdog story. That's a good trope.
That doesn't need to come out on top either. Just I'm just there.
You're just there. You're just working hard, getting through.
And eating magical MacGuffins.
Everyone is rooting for you eating all of those magical MacGuffin muffins.
It would be really nice to have people root for me. That would actually, yes, that's the one I want. I want people to root for me. I want to be a real. When they write the story, when the movie gets made, the movie poster should say like the true underdog story. So then I can feel like people actually care.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. That's perfect.
Exactly. I love it.
Excellent. Brenden, thank you again for joining us. This was so much fun.
It was a great time. I'm so happy. I'm looking forward to the next time you let me come on and ramble about things that don't have to do with the podcast.
Anytime. Literally anytime. We'll bring you back next week. No, I'm kidding. But anytime. Seriously, we're happy to have you back. And then, of course, thank you to my incredible co-host, the effervescent, brilliant, badass wrestler that is Rachel Quirky Shank.
Oh, no. Don't call me a wrestler. I'm not ready for that. And many, many thanks to my warm, weird, and wonderful co-host, Matt, aka Stormageddon. I couldn't remember all the W words, so I was like, wait, what did I use?
I mean, they're all true descriptors of me.
true.
And of course, thank you to our incredible audience. We would not have the show without you. We're so glad you're here. We will see you next time on a couch somewhere or at the movies. I screwed up the whole outro, but here we are. Bye, everybody.
Aurora, 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 Aurora. Metal to magnet, she will be mine. Aurora.
Hi, I'm Matt, aka Stormageddon, and I'm the host of CPOV Autographs at certainpov.com. It is a bi-weekly interview series where I interview folks from all over the arts, from writers to comedians to magicians to musicians, even actors, historians, podcasters, pretty much anyone who's willing to chat with me for a little bit. If you like interesting conversations with even more interesting people, go to certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, music is life, and life is good.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.